Hello, this is Stephen Hour, and we are here with another Green Hornet episode review. Today, we'll be reviewing the episode "The Frog is a Deadly Weapon," and that's the title of the episode. Let's get into the review. We begin this episode with some random lady going down to the harbour, and eventually she hops on a yacht where she is acquainted with her lover. She asks him, is he alright? And he says, oh, it's just a business problem and he'll be taken care of shortly. Now, but before she got on the yacht, she gave a glance to some random sailor before she got on, and then we cut to the scene where the sailor is pretty much on a break, and without him knowing, some divers come from behind him and essentially drag him to the bottom of the ocean. We do the usual opening credit, and then we cut back and opening credits, and then we cut to Britt Reed at the Daily Sentinel, where he was just about to go on a date until this death, which really shocks him. It's eventually revealed that this sailor was actually a private eye by the name of Nat Piles, and judging by Reed's facial expression, it's almost like he was trying to get in contact. But because his death is not much to be put on the front page, but it's agreed to be put on the back page. Britt Reed is then forced to call off his current date and brings in Miss Case. The two discuss, and he thinks that this drowning may not be an accident, because we find out that this guy, the private eye, came in to sell information on Glenn Connors, and this terribly disturbs Reed. And as a result, because of that, he feels that this may not be an accident, because he's suspicious maybe someone tried to silence him before he could pass on the information onto him. He then decides to bring in Frank Scanlon on this and ask Case to go to the private eye's apartment to get some record on this Glenn Connors. Now, I like what we're setting up here. A mysterious death connected to some kind of case, but this case is different. It's almost something that's really disturbing in Reed. And honestly, I think Van Williams really does this well. And of course, we do the usual call Frank Scanlon, and the usual head to Reed's place. As soon as Frank Scanlon gets to the apartment, Britt Reed catches him up to speed on the supposed private eye. His accidental drowning may actually be murder, but covered up to make it look like a drowning. And his reason why, because he tried to sell him information on Glenn Connors, and we find out that Glenn Connors was a former mobster. And apparently, unlike all the mobsters we've seen, this guy seems to be a really big deal to Reed. It's also revealed that the private eye was trying to sell some information to prove that not only was Glenn Connors alive, because it turns out Glenn Connors is actually dead, but is still operating in the city. And again, but the mystery still remains. Why is Britt Reed so personally interested? Truly not for a story, as this doesn't add up. But still, he presses on, and of course Frank Scanlon, realizing if there is truly a mobster, really in the city, and as DA, he has to naturally investigate. So he calls up his connections, and it's revealed to be a drowning. But Britt Reed is still not convinced. And as a result, Britt Reed investigates to really find out if Glenn Connors is alive. And of course, his main reason for doing so, and it's revealed what part of his origin was. It turns out Glenn Connors was one of the people that helped frame Britt Reed's father, sent him to prison, and sadly died when they got enough evidence to prove that he was innocent. But it was too late because he sadly died. I like that this is a very interesting motivation, and honestly just shows, just like in the original Batman 66, they do an episode, at least what they pass in glance to why they do it. But of course, because Britt Reed operates in a far different city to Batman, he operates differently. So I like how this is personal for Reed. We're given a bit of his origin, I say a bit, and most importantly, we got a person that is already fixed to be a central focus for Britt Reed to take his vengeance on. So I like what we're doing. As usual, they load up in the Black Beauty and head to the private eye's office, where they expect to meet Case there, only to find the place kind of ransacked, only for her to leave some kind of shoe behind. We find out that this woman is with this, we find that Casey is with this woman's lover on a boat being interrogated about the PI of leaving some evidence behind. But of course, Casey's smart and tries to come off as that he's really assistant and is overworked, underpaid, and essentially, proved to be harmless. And just as is being taken away to be held somewhere, she throws her other shoe overboard into the water. And of course the goons make nothing of this, but I think it's mainly due to, if it's to wash up on shore somewhere, or have some kind of evidence where she is for Britt Reed to find her. The next scene, we see Britt Reed down at the harbor, no doubt there to do some more investigating courtesy of the murder. But then there's a sudden report that a woman is found washed up dead, and Britt Reed is worried that this might be Casey. But to his shock, it is the mysterious woman that we saw early in the episode, and her name is revealed to be. Her name is Nedra Valen, and it's also revealed that she has a past with Glenn Connors. But now and we also find out that this lover that she's been spending time with, real name is named Delaclaire, and he's a big millionaire who has a lot of pull within the city. It is then, and as a result, Britt Reed shows some photos that he's found, and has come to the logical conclusion that Glenn Connors might actually be Delaclaire. The real reason? Plastic surgery. First, Scanlon is shocked at it and finds it unbelievable and can't really buy into it. But Britt Reed knows he's right. Of course he's right. They're always right. And quickly calls up Mike Scanlon to plant a story within the paper about Glenn Connors supposedly being alive. This was no doubt here to generate enough for Connors to really go, to really think about his next move. And then, of course, like always, the Green Hornet shows up to offer his assistance. And the two propose a deal, but some questions need to be answered. Propose a deal. He'll get rid of Britt Reed in exchange for the girl's release and a cut of the, and of course a cut of the money that Connors is in. It's also revealed that he took the place of this guy, of Delaclaire, to avoid publicity, but he also killed his girlfriend because he found proof that she was in league with the private eye and realized he has to go. He then plans to get all of Delaclaire's holdings, get the money, and run. And that is the cut of the money Britt Reed wants to have a cut of. But of course, just as he's leaving, when the deal's agreed, he leaves behind a listening device to listen in on Glenn Connors, suspecting a double cross. As a result, the proposed hit on Reed goes down without a hitch, even though we know Britt Reed really isn't dead because he and the Green Hornet are one and the same. He then goes to take Miss Case off the yacht and essentially back home, but is ambushed by some divers. Kato shows up, and it's a nice fight scene. I really like it. I really like it. I don't know. There's something about, it feels a bit grander than all of it. Just as Glenn Connors is seeing what's going on, he quickly gets all the money he can get his hands on and starts to make a run for it. Casey quickly makes her way back to the Black Beauty, and Kato ends up knocking out one of the divers that knocks into Glenn Connors, and he ends up, essentially, I'm guessing, hitting his head on something, resulting in him drowning and then coming back up. It's a really gruesome fate and I guess death has finally caught up with this elusive gangster. The three make their escape. Green Hornet, Kato, and Casey make their escape just as Frank Scanlon and the police turn up. We end the episode with Mike Axford completely angry about the whole thing, how Reed has kept this, whole thing from him, how, Mike Axford has, Frank Scanlon, has gotten so much credit for the whole busting up the scheme. And Britt Reed ends up leaving with his date, a date that he was supposed to go on early in the episode, to go essentially for a nice boat ride. And we end the episode there. Now, again, I feel Kato is still underutilized, but I like how Casey's put into a bit of danger, showing how much of a dynamic she is. We reveal more of Mike really being comedic foil, and I like how Frank Scanlon is given some screen time to do, and is really, I understand what value he is to Reed with his police resources, which makes sense because Reed needs someone within the legal aid. Again, they couldn't use the police commissioner because Batman had that. So the next logical choice for someone in law enforcement to help him would naturally be the district attorney. And again, I like how we get to see a bit of Reed's backstory here. Explains a bit. However, the obsession, however, with the Green Hornet motif doesn't remain unclear. But I like how it's revealed that how his father was framed for a crime he didn't do, and was sent to prison. When they got enough evidence to prove he was innocent, he sadly died, and Glenn Carnos was one of the people responsible. So it makes me wonder how many more other gangsters would have been responsible. So this explains why he's after Glenn Carnos. It's very personal to him. Speaking of Glenn Carnos here is portrayed by Victor Jory, who I happen to know who played the infamous Shadow in the Shadow movie series. Of course, he's been in other things. He has a very haunting voice. And it made sense to have someone of that magnitude to play this type of character. I don't know, but I've always found him to be arguably one of the most interesting villains. Again, just like many, he's really only appears in really one episode. And again, the series never established on having a really cool rogues gallery. Maybe with a few exceptions, of course. But I like how he's presented as someone that Reed definitely not just has a grudge with, but finds it very personal. I absolutely like what they've done. The Frog is a Deadly Weapon, for me, is a fun episode. It opens up a bit of origin. Maybe I would have liked to see more Kato. Then again, I guess you could say that with nearly every episode you see in the series. But I really like it. I also like the more murder mystery, more interesting plot. And Van Williams really shows a more darker, I would say, portrayal of Reed than we usually see. Showing just how much this really does affect him. Of, trying to catch this guy responsible for the murder of his father. So far, it's a very interesting episode, and a fun one, and definitely for me picks up a bit of the tiredness I was feeling with the last two previous episodes. There we have it. That was the Frog is a Deadly Weapon. Tune in next time when we review Eat, Drink, and Be Dead. Until next time, this has been the Steven Hour, and until next time, so long for now.